Awesome. Okay, so guys, please mute your mics and all right. So thank you everyone. Thank you to our panelists, for I'm super excited to be meeting some of the folks that we've been talking, let's say for roughly 2, 3, 5 years, So I'm just gonna do round trips of introduction first and you know tell everyone who the panelists are and we can dive right in. So from my left we have Tolulope currently works at Frugal, currently do sales, enterprise sales, right? But before then, he was formerly at Stripe and it also did, I think, Uber, right? And also did technology consultants at Accenture. And we have Afrin. Afrin currently she is my engineering manager for Wealthsimple, one of the biggest, neobank, startups in Canada. So we have Adebayo. Adebayo is based up. He has worked with, some unicorns in Nigeria like Moniepoint. He just went by one of the leading, you know, um, international money transfer companies in Africa. So we also have Timitope currently works as software engineer at Interswitch. Interswitch is uh, one of the very first fintech companies in Africa. And so we have this very diversified kind of like backgrounds, just to share, different sort of like, critical insights into their experiences, what has really helped them to, navigate, career challenges and help them to grow and become what they are today. So I'm going to kick off with this first question. I think we just kind of like, you know, share, but from, I will start with this question from Tolu. Right? So Tolu, what do you think is, let's say, number one career superpower that you've developed over, you know, moving from technology consulting to, working at Studio?
Yeah, thank you for having me. And yeah, great to see everyone. Hope to be able to help out in a bit if I share my experience. In terms of a superpower, I'd probably say being able to two things, take initiative. I find that a lot of the companies I've worked at, you'll find that there won't be there won't be a loss of work for you to do, not just for yourself, but work to do in general within the company. And at times, it's not your work to do. Your manager or your leadership isn't telling you to do that work. But if you see value in it for yourself, maybe for your own learning or for the company, in the company's growth and the company's development, and you want to take the initiative to get started on it, or just to even share some ideas on what you think should be done, it can help you out a lot. And the second I'd say is building relationships. I found that a lot of opportunities end up coming not just because you're maybe the most qualified, but people willing to trust you because you have a strong relationship and they know that you're someone who'll be able to get the job done. Even if you don't have the initial qualifications, you're going to go and learn what you need to do to be effective. So I'd say between taking initiative where someone doesn't have to tell you to do the job, and then also build a relationship so that people can take a risk on you when there's an opportunity. Both of those have worked out really well for me in securing opportunities.
Awesome, Tolu. Thanks so much for that contribution. Yeah. Adebayo, do you want to chip in on that?
Uh, yeah. Please can you please remind me the question again? Sorry.
Yeah. So, what is that number one career superpower that you have developed over the years that has really helped you, from moving from multiple companies, transitioning across multiple companies across Africa?
Yeah. Okay, thanks so much. Yeah, I think one of the things that really much helps me in respect of how I do my work, largely is asking a lot of whys. Yeah. Uh, like why do we need to do this like this? Why have this process in place, right? Uh, Asking why enables me to know how the business is thinking or how my stakeholders are thinking, right? And because of that, I'm able to clarify. I'm just not receiving the information as per go and do this and then just go ahead with it. But then I by knowing the context behind whatever instruction or whatever their plans are, right, then I'm able to better propose a better solution or even propose a better process. Yeah, that is one of the things that has really helped me, like just asking why.
Awesome. So, Adibara, maybe we just throw this question again to you, right? So you have been on the front lines of talent acquisitions,
Yeah.
for multiple companies, right? So what's the single biggest mistake you've seen, like otherwise as a brilliant folks, make on their CVs, for example, or maybe, just meeting them first impression kind of mistakes you've seen so far?
I make on their CVs. Yeah, first of all, CVs are typically like your first foot in the door for for for, for any organizations. By your first foot in the door, it means that we can't assess your competency, your accomplishment, or your profile appropriately yet because we haven't seen you in person. And the best place to assess it is your CV, right? At least at the first instance. And one of the things I typically see people do a mistake in that light is not not storytelling their achievements enough, right? By storytelling the achievement enough in that light, I mean like on your CV, you see a lot of people just including the lines of the job they did in the past. Oh, for instance, if I were a what's it called? If I were a mobile engineer, it could just be pushing code to production and just similar lines that don't put a lot of value on what you did within that particular job, right? It should be about the fact that, oh, within this particular space, I built a product that over 500 people use, 500,000 people use, you understand? I built a product, I migrated our platform from a platform that supported just 1,000 customers to over 200,000 customers, you understand? But in that wise, I mean that a lot of people fail to put a lot of numbers around the accomplishment that they did in their particular jobs. And that eventually is not able to help us place, okay, what was your exact achievement in this job that you did? Not just it's because otherwise it felt as if you were just ticking the box every other day. And not that, oh, every day, well, within that particular job, you had quantifiable, valuable achievements. If you are not able to put a lot of value to it in terms of business context, uh, if possible, monetary context, and that will include like numbers, percentages, yeah, and similar context, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. So I have this question for Team Software. I think Software, can you hear me? Please confirm.
Yeah,
So
Mbolo.
yeah. Hi. So from a technical, let's say technical interview standpoint, you know, I think pressure is something that's everybody has to deal with. So I want to ask, what is your pro tip for effectively communicating your thought process during those challenging moments, especially code review or design system challenge? And how do you avoid, that's kind of like awkward, dreaded, silence when you are being so pressured?
Okay, thank you so much, Bolo. It's a great privilege to be here.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot from my previous speaker, that's from Tolu and also Adibaya. To answer the question, so for high pressure technical interviews, like from my experience, I know there are different kind of interviews, the ones that are proctored, the ones that are on site, the ones that are written. Yeah, I've written everything interview before. So is to have like preparation before the interview and also during the interview. So for coding sessions, like as a programmer, like need to upskill on using lead code or hacker ranks so that to better your thought process in solving any problem to give you more confidence because there are different approach to solving problems. So during an interview, you should always be patient. Don't because there's always time. It's always time, most likely time based. So take time to gather your thought process, and also when you're writing the code, that is maybe with an interviewer and he's looking at your screen, you should be able to speak while you're writing your code, be able to just communicate. I've written some interviews before whereby even the interviewer was telling me, why am I doing like, why don't I take this kind of step? So communication during pressure, like it helps very, very well. And also like explaining things clearly, it helps in not talking too much, by also like writing what you need to write. Yeah. So that's my thought process for high pressure environments or for technical interviews. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. So I think we can flip this a little bit and, just go to the non-technical side of things. So, Tim Lopez, what do you think, would be, let's say, a pro tip from the world of sales that technical people, like, let's say, engineers, designers, can use to better sell themselves and can also possibly impart, their performance in, let's say, behavioral interviews?
Yeah, so in selling different products to customers, I would say in an enterprise or in a large company environment, I found that in most cases, it's either one, what you're selling doesn't completely meet all the needs of the customer. So maybe it's you can't give them all the features they really want, or you can't support them as they would like to ideally be supported, or you can't provide um, the a certain kind of specific needs they have, or you can, and you're not the only one who can. You have other competitors who can do the same as well because what they need is fairly simple. And in both cases, what often makes a difference in being able to close the sale or be the one that your customer selects is some level of trust. But over time, what they need will change. Over time, what they're using your product or services for is going to change. And trusting that you will be able to deliver for them in the long term, or you'll be able to work with them if they need better support or something needs to change, is what ultimately, for some folks, is what would drive the decision. Now, say similarly, if you're thinking about your interview, you as an individual trying to enter a company, what the company may be looking to hire you for, you may not be a perfect fit. You may be that they want somebody who has React experience, for example, and you don't have that. Or it may be that you're a perfect fit today, but in the future, the needs are going to change. If you're working for a startup, for example, the startup may decide to pivot. They may decide that they actually want to work on a different product or offer a different service. And what your specialty was or why they brought you in may not be as relevant anymore. So there need to be a level of trust. And I kind of said it earlier in my earlier answer that you'll be able to adapt or you'll be able to meet the needs in the future. So I just kind of like sales, there's a bit of trust in that, okay, this person's great fit today, maybe not a perfect fit, maybe very close to it, but also that it'll be a great fit in the future. So I'd say for the non-technical portion of your interviews, you want to make sure that you're communicating not just that you can get the job done, but examples of you adapting and being somebody that can learn quickly or adjust to what the company may need, to what your manager may need, to what your organization may need in the future.
Awesome. Awesome. So, Afrin, I think we can bring you up now and talk a little bit about, you recently became an engineering manager at a firm, and I know for sure you're an excellent engineer. So, I mean, what do you think would be the difference between doing good work and doing work that signals you are ready for the next level?
Yeah, I think the way promotions work within the company is that you need to be starting to work at the next level already. You need to be showing signs of ownership. If you see something broken, you shouldn't just like open a ticket and just like leave it as is. Actually, like take the responsibility to like fix it, and not bandage fixes, but something that's like future proof. That's one of the signals. And second thing, being able to anticipate the needs of the organization and being able to have a rough idea about how you'll get there. So if you are actually listening to what the company needs and what the department needs and thinking about what our team needs to do to get there, is very important. I think these are the two things. So basically, like very strong ownership and being able to anticipate what the organization needs and working towards that. I think these two things signal that you're ready for the next level, especially from junior or intermediate to senior engineer.
Awesome. That's perfect. So maybe the buyer wants to talk from the people and culture perspective. What are the, let's say, subtle non-obvious behaviors of employees who are, let's say, consistently identified as high performer, across some of the companies you've worked with?
Yeah, well, I don't know if I should call it subtle, yeah. But then I know that something is that they very much understand the impact of their job on the business, right? There is that fact that you can tie your output, your immediate output, to the general output of the larger business, and that's like it's something I've seen. Well, if I can toot my own, it's something I've seen within myself, but it's something I've also seen in people that you see that because they can, and that I've seen in others too, yeah, and because they can recognize their immediate impact, they are not lackadaisical about their job also. They are not lackadaisical about their job at all, and they just put in everything, and they are able to put a sort of business thought process in their immediate work, whether you be a mobile engineer or be a product manager. In fact, as a product manager, you very much need it much more. But even as very much engineering talents tend to be they want to distance themselves or tend to be distant from the business. But then if you have that business mindset, it helps you build with the customer particularly in mind. And one other thing that I've seen, particularly for engineering and technical talents, is people that have side projects that they are able to express and test, right? They are able to express and test. And lastly, if I may, is a lot of growth mindset. Growth mindset in respect of the fact that they are not afraid to try new things, right? They're not afraid to. Maybe if before now I was familiar with PHP. Now the organization is testing going into Java microservices, yeah. But then they are not afraid to actually test it out and see how it will work out for them. But then they are not just stuck in their own. They are not just stuck in their ways. They are very much open to new things, new learnings, and generally new ways of doing things. Yeah, that's one of the three of the things I've particularly seen in high performers within the places I've worked. Yeah.
Wow, that's really impressive. So, I mean, let's see what Tulu has to say here. So I'll just kind of trick the question a little bit. How do you handle balance between delivering on your core tasks with taking on stretch projects that can lead to growth without getting burned out? Usually maybe another side of let's say consulting and finance, they said you're taking responsibilities, right? But how do you balance that? Let's say in tech.
Yeah, in tech, to find balance, which is very, very important, even for the growth of the individual dev and also for the company, is always prioritize and be intentional about energy management, about tasks that you're giving your deliverables, your core deliverables. You know that those are non-negotiables. Then also knowing when to take a break. Then also for stretch projects that's maybe like side project that you want to build, because as an engineer, there are times that you might just have interest in certain fields, like maybe you want to build your own startup later. You might just maybe take side project on that, or you can start on your own with a team of people. So like I actually do that sometimes. So I just ensure that I deliver on my core tasks, my sprint. I'm always aligned there, and also take up project. Maybe it's a farming application, it's a fintech application I want to build. I see it as an investment, so I'm more drawn to that line. So I don't see it as an extra work for me. I see it's most like an investment, so that it won't lead to like a burnout or like I have to like conflict of interest. So that's how I try to balance, yeah, in the fast-paced environment.
Awesome. All right. So I think we can get a little bit of perspective from Tolu as well. I mean, let's say a more larger company like Google, it's actually easy for you to feel like a small fish in a bigger pond or in a big pond, right? So what is going to be like a strategy for gaining visibility and ensuring your contributions are, let's say, recognized by the right people within a bigger firm?
Yeah, I'd say this applies very much to big companies, but to small companies as well. Is you want to make sure that you're, and people call me personal brand, but you're building what you want to show or how you want people to perceive you as something that you're giving some thought to. So maybe you want to be known as someone that people come to when they need help with a very specific subject matter. Like, hey, I'm very good with this kind of work. So if people get stuck with this kind of work, they should come to me. Or I'm someone who has a lot of interest in this geography. Okay, I know that I want to move to Ghana someday. So anything related to work that's in that geography will come to me. So you want to build some brand so that people know what your interests are and what value you can bring to the table. For me, for example, in my last role, I was very interested in kind of storytelling when it came to the business. So when it came to like presentations and people actually developing proposals and such, I had people come to me that asked for help, and it helped me gain some visibility. And that now my name was showing up in presentations and conversations with directors or people at a higher level. So I'd say that's one. And two, I'll say also, and it's going to differ from company to company, but don't be shy about trying to build relationship with people at a much higher level than you. So I find that you get different reception from company to company, but some companies you can book time with a director and just say, hey, I didn't have much to talk about, but I want to understand how you became a director. How you moved up in your role. And some people will be very open. Some people you'll reach out to them, you never hear back. So you can't be discouraged because it's not always the case. One of the things that worked out really well for me. So I started it's my second time at Google. My first role at Google was 2020. When I started, it was I'd say probably the largest company I'd worked at. And I was thinking of what's the best way for me to have some mentorship, reach out to some people. And you never know who's going to respond and who's not. And one of the things I looked at was, actually, how many people at Google have the name Tolu? And there weren't that many people. There were only maybe 5 people. And I reached out to all 5 just to see who'd respond. Everyone else at the company, the name Tolu, was much higher level than me. And 3 of them responded. I had a great conversation. One of them agreed to be a mentor and still meet with them ever so often. So, whatever you're comfortable with, start there. But you want to make sure that you are having conversation with people who are much further the road than you, because there are things that you just learned by experience, or you learned because you've been at the organization so much. That, hey, you may think this may seem like how things should work, but it's how it actually works to this organization. So I'll say 1 is building a personal brand, and then 2 is just get the mentorship, connect with people at the leadership level, and listen to what people who are further along are willing to share with you.
Yeah, I actually love what you did, Tolu. Yeah, I just needed to mention that. Big ups. Yeah, well done.
Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. So that's very impressive. So that's really cool. I think we have a question for, so yeah, one of our panelists just joined. He actually have a little bit of logistics issues. So I'm going to introduce him. Demilade by name, is a senior software engineer at Allison. Allison is one of the biggest airtel companies in the world. They have about 50 million users. And prior to that, been mentoring for some technology education companies in Nigeria. I've been doing a lot of work there. So I would say it's a technology mentor by nature, or that's like second nature too. So, Jamie, I think we can just give you this question straight off the bat. As a mentor to, let's say, other software engineers, what's the most common, let's say, career limiting mindsets you see that prevents talented senior engineers from reaching the next level? Whether, let's say, staff software engineer, or let's say senior management level engineer.
All right. Good day, everyone. Sorry, I'm just coming in. Yeah, I think one career limiting mindset I've seen frequently is, should I call it an inferiority mindset? There is this mindset of, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I see developers that that are really very good, telling me, oh, I don't think I can do it. I don't think I'm good enough. And I keep telling people, man, you are good. I've seen what you can do. I think engineers, developers need to believe in themselves, needs to believe in their capacity. So it's one thing I've seen so far in the industry. It's common. Even senior engineers, sometimes it kicks in. Oh, I think that person is better than me. I think this person is. So just believe in yourself, believe in your worth and your value.
Wow, that's a very powerful one. Thank you so much, David, for that. So we have another question. So our friend, I think this question is for you. Um so yeah, let me know if you, yeah, awesome. So this question is around managing people. So you just started managing people now. So I believe you had managing people before. So what was, let's say, the most difficult skill to learn when shifting from, let's say, managing code and now managing people, or let's just say managing process and then now managing people?
Yeah, I think there are two aspects of it. So when you move from being an IC, which is an individual contributor, to a manager, there are two things that you need to think about. First, you're not responsible only for what you're delivering, you're responsible for what the entire team is delivering. And that sort of falls into two aspects. One of them is like the operational excellence of the team, which is what the organization is asking from you and how much you can deliver on time, and whether you can make the people that report into you actually stick to those deadlines and try to make sure that any unexpected tasks that come in do not derail the plan that you have, at least with that cycle. So that is something that I'm still like learning. I've just been like, it's been 3 weeks in this role for me, so I'm still learning that. The other thing also I've learned is what motivates people. For me, there are different motivators, but I've come to learn that it's not universal. Some people like to work in their silos. They just want to go ahead, work on the code. They don't care that much about getting like public visibility or things along those lines. But some people really do care about like being visible and getting like public kudos and things along those lines. And some people just care about the title or the money. So that is one part, the motivation part. But the other part is like, what are the problems that they're gravitating towards? Some people gravitate towards problems that are like more ambiguous. They want to like figure out the details, break it down into smaller pieces. But some people like problems that are well defined and they want to solve that. So trying to understand what motivates them and what makes them tick, and assigning them to those projects, but not just. But once you assign them to projects, you also want to make sure that they are in a space where there's room for growth as well. So just give them a little bit outside their like comfort zone and give them the opportunity to grow as well. So I think these are the multiple aspects that I've been learning as a manager.
Awesome. That's a very good one. Thank you, our friend, for that. So I think we have this question that we need to open up to all of our panelists, just to help everyone. I believe some of the folks that we call are largely mid-level, and just advancing in their careers. So, and I believe you guys have at one time or the other interviewed junior folks. So what is, let's say, one particular question a candidate asks you at the end of an interview that genuinely impressed you and made you see them in a new light? Who wants to go first?
I can go first. I think when I interview candidates, if they've done research about the company and also try to use the product, and try to see or pitch ideas into, hey, have you thought about this product or that product or this particular offering? That shows that they're interested. That's the first thing. Second thing, just being able to like read the news about like the company and just talk about, hey, like I've read this about this particular company. Is it true? Is there something that I can pitch in? So basically knowing the product, see how you can pitch in terms of like ideas and like what's going on at the company level and how that impacts at like the industry level. Yeah, that really like gets my attention when I'm interviewing candidates.
Awesome. Curiosity, creativity, make a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much for that, Alfred. One other experience that I call to mind is this experience that was within internal hiring, right? So we're hiring internally for another role, but then it was for internal candidates, yeah. And then one of the candidates went above and beyond. The context of the role had some things to do around data, yeah, and gathering data, like insights from data. And the way she went about it, I can't recall like in clear detail, but it was such above and beyond that she simulated she simulated internal data, yeah, that helped her to create different scenarios that she will actually have within that role, right? And because of that, she was able to appropriately explain. She went pretty much above and beyond to, okay, these are the different scenarios I will face on this particular job, or that customers will walk through with me on this particular job. And this is how we handle it based on the different, like the data she had simulated from our internal data, yeah. And that actually really differentiated her from every other internal candidate that we had. Of course, she eventually got the job, right? But then on one end, myself, I saw in another light, if I can answer your in the words of your question, right? But most importantly was how in getting that job, she went above and beyond. She proved herself. It was a job that really required a lot of analytical thought process, and then just ensuring you are actually very much dumped and biased to data. And there was no better explanation of her bias to data and analytical thought process than the simulation that she did. And that eventually got her that job. So eventually, if I may, in terms of pull out an advice from that, in applying for any job, put it forth an interview, examine yourself in the face of that job, what it will require, and do it. And just as Adfrin said, research about the business and use the business cases within your interview, right? And that will really make a difference in your interview. Yeah.
Awesome. That's very impressive. Thank you so much, Adebayo. Does anyone who wants to go next? So
I can add that I think what everyone has said so far is pretty much spot on. I think it's difficult to ask a generic question that will be as helpful as something that's specific to what you're discussing. So I think you have to have some element of the role, some element of the company, some element of private services. I think if you're trying to be, with that in mind, if you're trying to ask something that put you in a different light outside of just, maybe a case study, what you're doing is asking a question about an approach that the company, the team, the role is taking that may be not the best approach. So if you come in and you say, hey, you're asking for someone who has this experience, why not someone who has that experience? Because the industry standards says this. So I'd say not only being able to be specific to the company, but then zoom out some more and say, okay, what is best practice across the industry? What is best practice? What is the most cutting edge way this is being done today? And actually challenge them. It can be risky because they're kind of just speaking to an interview and they don't want to be challenged. They simply want you to be a good fit for the role. But if you can do it in a respectful way to say, I see that this is what you're proposing, but I actually want to challenge that and say, from what I'm seeing or from this sources, it seems like this other way may be the best way to do things. It can actually set you apart in that not only are you showing that you have knowledge, but you're actually pushing the interviewers or the company to think differently. And sometimes companies don't want that. I'll be quite blunt, and that should be what costs you the job. They want someone who's going to come in and fit the mold. But a lot of top companies will want somebody who is not just able to do what they ask, but able to also go against what common thinking is when it's necessary. So that often can be what sets you apart.
wow, that's impressive. Thank you, Tolu. David, do you have any thoughts on the question?
Okay, I just want to add to something Alia mentioned, and sometimes it's always good to, it's not compulsory, but it's very, very good to do your own work about the company. It makes them feel like, oh, I think you have this same passion with us. I remember I was opportunity to be on a panel, and the CEO was on a board. It's kind of like an health tech firm. And the CEO got on a board with a research team trying to solve some solutions, researching on cancer and the rest. And the the guy just mentioned something. Oh, I love your company. You people are passionate about, you are not just building a solution. You are actually reaching out to the community. And he mentioned the exact date he got on that board. He talked about the team, talked about who we're partnering with as we research the cancer, as about the cancer research. And we're all impressed, it was just different. Apart from the fact that he could answer those questions, it showed that he had done his homework. He was more passionate about the company, wanted to know about the company, and we all fell in love with him. So I think sometimes it could be a bonus point when you could just, try to do a research about the company. Okay, what did they do? What's the big thing about this company? What is the next major deal? What's the kind of contract they're trying to get? What's going on at the moment? And just chip it in. Oh, I heard your company is doing X, Y, Z. I just want to ask, what do people think about this? It makes them feel, okay, this person seems part of us. And that actually stood that candidate out, actually. So it's actually can be a bonus point.
Well, that's really impressive. So, um, okay, I think, Amy, I don't think you can hear me. But I have this other question for everyone. I think we exhausted that. So as regards, just summing everything up, I think we can be able to give, let's say, one actionable piece of advice that somebody can just implement self debates starting from Monday, right? So, what would that be for everyone? Let's say you want to give one particular, just singular advice. That's anyone on the call can implement self debates starting from Monday to help them to grow their career or move on their career.
I can start real quick. I find that the two things that probably most impact, your career trajectory where you go, where you don't go, is one, your skill, and two, your network. So on a daily basis, you can make progress on both. On the skill front, you've already said, if you want to be software engineer, go to different roles. As of most big tech companies, lead code is still, maybe the top way to go. Right now, there's almost no way around it. So the more time you spend on it, the better for you. And on the network front, which I think most people ignore, is you also want to grow your network every single day. And that could be a matter of spending a little bit of time on LinkedIn and connecting with people. That could be going to virtual or in-person conferences or whatever it may be to actually expand your network, because those are the two things that generally going to lead to opportunities. One, that you're able to do the job, and two, that people are willing to give you the job. And being able to do the job doesn't mean you'll get it, because there may, as I maybe you were saying earlier, there are other people who can probably do the job as well. And the difference is going to be, well, I know this person through this person. This person is vouched for this person, or this person, I know them beyond just their technical or skills. I know them in terms of how they are as a person, their passion, their interest. So I'd say if you can make progress on both of those, and in some cases, some people are stronger in one than the other. Some, like for me, for a while, going for certain roles, I had a very strong network, but I wasn't very strong in sales, and I had to go and just take a lot of LinkedIn courses and actually join a class to learn more about the sales process and what that looks like in the enterprise. And maybe the opposite for you. Maybe you've been on lead code and now you can solve some of the hard questions in 15 minutes, but you don't have a very strong network. Either can make a huge difference in you getting a role. So I'd say doing a true assessment of yourself, where am I stronger in these two? Maybe both need to progress at the same time, or maybe I'm really good in one, I'm not doing well in the other, and just invest the time to make sure both are very strong.
Wow, that's really impressive, David. Thank you.
All right,
Awesome.
let me go next. So one thing I would say is, one very good advice I would say is blow your trumpet. Trust me, nobody talks about you better than yourself. Learn to blow your trumpet. Ask yourself, there are probably millions of people that do the same thing you do. whatever field of it, whatever career you are in. So the question is, how would I know about you? I know if I have, for example, there's opening for a particular role, you see thousands of applications. Why should we pick you? If you don't blow yourself online, I've seen cases where I've seen people personally, I've seen people personally who have got jobs on LinkedIn so many times. Talk about yourself, talk about what you do. Some of us, we build apps. Somebody reached out to me and said, oh, it's like most jobs now, there is no job for an entry-level developer. Everything I see is 3 years of experience, 4 years of experience. And I just asked him, you build apps. How many of these apps have you talked about on your LinkedIn? You just finished building an app. You don't even have to wait. You could just volunteer. Oh, you have some group of people building something. Let me build it with you guys. Talk about it on LinkedIn. Today, I started building so with this team. Mention their names. Oh, this is my car. So weeks ago, we had to launch so. People look at you. People see what you post. So you should blow your trumpet. There was a day the CEO of Anchor having a conversation, and he said to me like, I love your post. I was like, really? I didn't know he was reading my post, So you don't know he's looking at you. So, I say a lot of developers they say they are looking for a job, but they don't post on LinkedIn. An average user is coming to see what you post, come to see, because if you tell yourself, for example, you say, I'm coming from a developer point of view. I say, okay, I'm going with JavaScript, TypeScript, PHP. We have several same people who are saying the same thing. So what stands you out? Talk about yourself. Talk about the things that you do. I had a colleague then, I was into the digital marketing career line formally, and I had a colleague she's still very popular on LinkedIn. And this is somebody I just see, she just walks into the office then, just a normal person, walks in. I say, I check her LinkedIn page, she has thousands of followers. There was a day she just showed me a message, a chat. And I was seeing so many people reaching out to her. So many people, just, can you come and talk about this? And she's very popular, very, very popular on LinkedIn. So you need to be active, be in networks, be in developer groups. There are sometimes somebody reached out to me last week and said, okay, I need a paid developer. I just looked around, I couldn't get a paid developer. I just posted it on a closed community group, and I just got probably 4 or 5 responses. I sent to the HR immediately. So that's why you always need to grow your network. Be in these software engineering groups. If you're a tech person, whatever career line, form very good networks. Reach out to people. It's very, very important. You really need to blow your trumpet.
That's really important.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks so much. Let me quickly add something to what Demilade and Tolu had said earlier, right? In respect of network and blowing your trumpet, and just to add also, like as you are networking and meeting people, please, it's very important, especially particularly from engineers. From what I've seen, don't just network upwards, right? It's important you actually network with your peers, right? Like with your peers, because your peers can easily call out your bullshit, right? And also, they are the ones that that maybe when they have projects and code, they can have you come on board. They are really the ones that you can be very much vulnerable with, yeah? And they can also plug you to additional opportunities that they come across, right? So it's very important, because a lot of us have made that mistake or even make that mistake, right? We just want to focus on people above us, yeah, looking for mentors and people that can guide us. But the people that you're actually in the same pace, that you can go together, and they can actually even tell you what is trendy, what is happening within the organization, and they can even pull you in for referrals, right? And one thing I also wanted to add in that respect, especially for people that are currently in organizations, being an employee somewhere else, that it's actually important that you find a way to manage your manager, right? Whereby you have a manager, what are their expectations? What do they expect from you? It's important you even know them personally, like what are their behavioral orientations, how do they communicate their preferences, yeah? And you meet them at that midway, right? And you are not comfortable in, for instance, I'm an extrovert, my manager is an introvert. That's just a very side instance. But then you are meeting your manager at the midway, because eventually your career really is not just determined by your output, it's determined by your manager in an organization. So it's very important that you find a very appropriate way to manage, not as kissing, yeah, but then manage your manager in the best way you can. Yeah. Thanks so much.
That's good. Thank you. Alfred.
For me, I have this sticky note on my laptop that says, "What did you learn today?" That keeps reminding me that I need to keep learning something every single day. And I've realized that anytime I stop learning, and when I'm not moving forward, I'm actually falling behind because technology is a ever fast-moving industry. So even if I learn one new concept and watch one new video on something that I don't know, I think for me at least I'm making progress. The 1% rule, you get 1% better at the end of the year. You've like really have pushed yourself. So that's one piece of advice I would want to give.
Thank you. That's great. Tolu, can you hear me?
All right, thank you so much. So everyone has said a lot of things. So I'll just summarize like with an acronym DIR. So D stands for documentation. That is like no matter the level you are, just ensure that you start documenting. Maybe if you have not been documenting before, either through LinkedIn, either GitHub, either your Medium account, like ensure you document things. You might just in the next 10 years, you might fall back to those documentation and see that they are really, really relevant. You might look at yourself as a prophet, but you'll be able to relate to your journey. It's not just about the destination, it's the journey and the destination also. So the I is for initiative, which our friend said before. So taking initiative for developers, I'll be more cautious and intentional about speaking in business meetings and all. It's not just about writing code also. It's more than writing codes and all. Communication and taking initiatives. Also for the R, I know Adebayo talked about managing your manager. So it's more about relationships, like building relationship with different, like these people, your subordinates, your managers, and everyone. Yeah, that's my advice. Thank you.
That's super important and super cool. Thank you so much, everyone. I mean, this is really, really insightful. You can see Uptick, kind of like very personal, insights that have really helped these people, advance in their career from learning every day to documentation, insights, and relationships. So, just doing things out of the box while you are interviewing with anyone. So I think it's really important and it's crucial. So I think we have one question in the chat from Monet. So question is, how do you handle a situation in an interview where you are asked about your knowledge of the technology you are already learning, but are not confident about it yet? So how do you handle that? Does anyone have any insights?
Afrin, please go ahead because you're a technical person. Yeah.
I think so when you're trying to get better at particular technology, try to like check what other technologies that you already are very proficient in, and you can like bring it back to that. I was very good at language X, and these are the projects that I've been able to deliver in those languages. And because I know these skills are transferable, and I'm always been learning, and this is like a growth opportunity for me, and I'm very eager to learn. I think like that sort of framework will really help the interviewers know that you don't just care about growth, but you have delivered previously in other similar frameworks.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. Does anyone wants to add to that? So we have another question here. Is it proper to be using your feeds to talk about company you work with? Any thoughts?
What you mean by your page, your LinkedIn account or your Instagram account, or which account exactly? Or is it your Twitter account, right? But then you are talking about, essentially you're talking about your work in the company that you work with, yeah? Yeah, in fact, it could be LinkedIn account, yes, LinkedIn account. Share about your work in the company you work, as much as you are. First of all, it's not sensitive information. The company allows you to share such information. You must respect those lines. Yeah, the company allows you to share such information, and you are also not exaggerating what you did, right? And again, is okay. I've actually seen it in one or two companies. Okay, I heard actually where a team will do something, and then someone will post on LinkedIn that we're actually the one that did this. Right? You understand? And just without giving credible, necessary credence to other team members. So it's important you don't, first of all, what are the communication lines, the sensitive lines of the information you want to share? And also, you also don't, you don't overshoot your contribution. Yeah, it's very important. But then please, as is your LinkedIn page, please share it. It's the work you did. In fact, even if at times your company doing something, yeah, just, oh, I'm happy to be part of this company that just raised $40 million, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Thank you, Adebayo. So Phil, do you have any additional questions before you drop it? So I think we are pretty much caught up. Does anyone have any last words or any other thing they want to share before we wrap up the call? Oh, I think it's another question on chat. So my question is, what effects does being a jack of all trades in tech has on one's career growth? I don't know if we understand this question. Adebayo, your mic.
Yeah, I understand the question. And the question is, I laugh because I remember I had a conversation with someone earlier, so maybe last year or 2 years ago, while he had been a generalist, right, in a couple of companies, but then when it now came to what his next role will look like, he was finding it difficult because on one end is that while he was a generalist, he didn't quite go deeply in the different works that he did. Yeah. So by generalist, I mean he did products, he did marketing, he did sales, he did expansion, yeah, he did various things like that, right? But then his next goal was he now felt almost lost. And that, as in a way, had now affected his, in a way, maybe affect, maybe not, right? But then that's a singular case that I call to mind. And I can't remember any other person. But it's important that, you know what they call a T-shaped career, right? Whereby you know a lot about other things happening within your immediate environment, but still as much as possible, you're an expert in a particular field. And I think that's the best kind of career to have, where you are T-shaped, you are an expert, a specialist in a particular field, but you are not oblivious of the various skill sets or trends within various careers that are surrounding your particular role, right? So it's very important that, okay, while you're a generalist, it's not advisable, yeah, especially as like the expectation is that as you grow, there should be some specialization with generalization, but then, yeah, I don't know if that works, but please ensure that as much as possible, you're able to double down and specialize as soon as possible, as soon as you can. Demlade, please.
Yes. So I want to add to what Adebayo said. I've also seen a lot of things, this kind of scenario play out a lot of times. You see some people say, oh, I'm multilingual. For example, I saw somebody who had 2 years of experience. I was asking, okay, what languages do you write? Sergey. I was like, you write React Native, React, Python, JavaScript, PHP, TypeScript. I said, okay, just hold on. Can you build out with all this software? I said, yeah, yes. I said, okay, let's jump on board. We started the project, and I got to discover that this guy could not really do much. He just had base level generally. And I see a lot of people saying, let me learn this. The truth is, nobody will pay you well to have an idea about an issue. People will only pay you when you can solve a problem. And the more complex problems you can solve, the greater the amount you will pay and the greater your value. So the problem with not having deep knowledge is you have surface knowledge and you can't solve deep problems. So you should actually, as much as there are some times when I understand the need to, let me know this thing. Okay, you could be a generalist, but it's very good you have a niche. Have something that you are very good with. As the best people who have been paid in the industry are those that can solve complex problems, real problems. And that's why you really need to deepen your knowledge in a particular area to answer that. Then person that asked a question, I just want to quickly touch about someone who asked a question about if you are being asked about a technology you are learning, but you are not so good with it. I think you should be sincere, but very convincing. You could be learning, and there is a way I can convince you that if you are learning, then you should definitely be able to convince the interviewer that I can do the job. Now, one thing that I think would help is be sincere but be very positive. Tell them what you have learned so far, and let them know what you have done, what practical things you have done with that technology. So I could actually give you a chance. So for example, let's assume you just started learning Python, you're a JavaScript developer, Node.js developer, you started learning Python 6 months ago. And I have to say, okay, this job requires both JavaScript and Python. You could convince me, okay, I've been learning Python for the past 6 months. Let them know how long they have been learning Python. And in fact, recently, I joined a team to build a chatbot. We used Python, and we also use Python and so. You mentioned the languages of this. One, mentioning those technology convinces me to an extent that you know about it. Talk more about what you've learned. So I don't just have an idea you are learning. Be deep on what you have learned. It gives me, you are trying to convince me that, okay, I think I've known so far and you can give me a chance. So be sincere and also convince developer, talk as much as you can about what you have learned so far.
And that was spot on. Thank you, Jimmy. So we have 2 other questions. I think we would wrap up with these last questions. I've seen many jobs from Emmanuel. I've seen many job roles. I have at least 70% of requirements, but they always have these core requirements which I don't have a knowledge on. How do I go about applying to those roles? Does anyone want to go? Don't have the core requirements, but you want to give it a try. And how do you apply for those roles?
I can chime in here. I would recommend still applying because for the most part, not everybody will meet 100% of the requirements on the job description. The other thing is if you see those core requirements coming up in multiple roles, I would recommend actually like learning that, which would mean it's almost a signal that more companies are adopting that technology. So it's like a data point that you would need to use to actually upskill yourself. So I'd say still apply, but use that as a data point for what's missing.
That's it. Thank you. Another question. How do you handle salary negotiations before signing a contract? I think this is more of a sales question. So Adebayo and Tolulope,
Salary negotiations are somehow, sincerely. You can't you can't there's no right answer, right? Because it's always somehow like the company typically in an IoT company, they have a budget, yeah. They don't want to go beyond it. And here you are with a skill set that might not be above and beyond their particular salary, yeah. But most importantly, within yourself, just know what you can take. Just know what is comfortable for you in terms of, first of all, again, this is one of the reasons. First of all, actually, to first understand what are your costs or cost of living, cost of allowance, different things that applies to you. Yeah. Secondly, it's important that you speak to your friends working in similar companies. What do they earn? What did this type of role earn? Yeah, and use that to inform your ask. That's in an instance when what's it called? When the company has not given you their salary, right? But then is that use that information actually to inform your ask, right? And then even if the company now says they cannot pay as much as that, again, you should have a benchmark that you cannot go below, right? But then this benchmark is also understandable that our confidence in negotiation and in our career gets stronger as we grow, right? As you get more experience. So, of course, at a very maybe 1 to 2 years experience, you can be offered peanuts, but because of economical reasons, you just collect the peanuts, yeah, and just because you want to build a skill set. Again, understand what am I bringing to the table and what do I need in exchange for it. Please, Tolu.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'd add that there's a different number of components. How you may want to approach it with a smaller company, if from a larger company. I may want to approach it if there's the talk of equities on the table versus if not, if there's potential for bonus, if not. So there's a lot of factors. But I'd say a few things like everybody just mentioned. First, knowledge makes all the difference. You want to know what this company is generally paying for people in the role you're going for, and that may be levels.fyi, that may be LinkedIn, and be whatever source you can to get information on what is the most reasonable pay to expect. And then 2, you have to be honest with yourself as to what is your skill level. Do you feel you're someone who is an amazing engineer or you're a good engineer? Because people do, how did your interview go? Did you do amazing in your interview? Or did you do okay in your interview? Because that's going to impact how much your company is going to offer you as well. And then third, perhaps the strongest thing you can have is just multiple offers. If you have an offer from another company, and I have a good friend who actually just was a software engineer at Google and left to join a startup 3 years ago now. When he was coming out of from Nigeria as well, when he just finished, he did a master's and he did a master's. He got his offer from Google, and he had gotten an offer from Intel and a few other companies. And he went to the recruiter and said, "Hey, listen, I know, this is a generous offer, but," and then he actually, I don't know how common this is, but shared a little video of him opening his offer from Intel and another company and said, "This is, this is what I'm being offered at other places. I'd love to be here, but this is, this is what essentially Google is competing with." And that is as strong as you can get in terms of this is what my market value is, so to speak. So if you can get that, I think that makes a huge difference. Now, if you don't have, any of those, one thing I would say is just be comfortable with still asking for more, but doing so in a manner where it doesn't close the door, right? You could say, "Hey, one of the things I learned, I started in consulting before I came to tech, and from folks who were in consulting is, hey, you can tell a company, I'm comfortable, like I'm happy with the role, I'm comfortable taking it. Ideally, I'd love to make a bit more, and if you could raise my offer to this amount, it'd make me more happy and more excited about this role. But otherwise, I'm still willing to take it." And I've seen that play out well for people where the company says, "Okay, well, this person's committed to the company. We want them to come in as a happy candidate, right? We want them to come in excited to do their best work." So sometimes just making the ask of, "Hey, can you come up a little bit more?" Even if you don't have a counter offer, even if you don't have anything else to offer, sometimes just going to ask can make a difference. But I'd say your best shot of getting what you're looking for is to have a counter offer. But if you don't, still be comfortable asking, and that may lead to an increase from what you're currently being offered.
Okay, so I want to add to that, please. I want to give a very practical example, something I really, really noticed. Company XYZ in the United States wants to hire a video editor. So company XYZ is trying to cut costs. Company XYZ says, "Oh, why don't we just hire a video editor from Africa or from Nigeria? We could reduce the cost of labor, because of economic differences." So company XYZ is hiring from Nigeria. And we have a video editor in Nigeria who is saying, "Oh, Complex YZ is in US. Okay, let me say $7,000, for example, pending travel." And Complex XYZ is budgeting because they want to cut costs. Complex YZ is budgeting $1,500. Now, the video editor applicants, you've talked yourself in the leg because just assume, okay, this company based on general pay average or pay average in the US was a US company, so they should definitely pay higher, and they have a low budget. Now, we also have another company who, for example, has a budget and you shoot lower. So I think the best thing is, one good thing, like Adebayo said, is you definitely have to research about the company. That's why we have Glassdoors. That's why we have Indeed. We have a lot of where you could ask. Okay, you could just ask, okay, how much does Complex XYZ pay video editors? How much does company? You need to have an idea so you don't fit yourself in the leg. Sometimes I've even seen two people the same skill, same level, and differently. And that's where my number 2 point comes in. You need to learn how to value yourself in the interview. This particular role, are you very good? I remember then when I was applying for digital marketing roles, I was so good that I was skillful in digital marketing. I was a video editor, I was a graphic. I was also very good at graphic design because the company I worked previously, as a digital marketer, you do everything. I was doing everything. Social media, I was there for years and I was very good. So I was able to convince them, I'm not just coming as a digital marketer. I'm very good at editing, graphic design, social media. I tell them I want to charge, I'm going to collect ×2 of their amount you pay. And sometimes I've seen a lot of cases like that where they have to, okay, please, let's make it, increase it today, but not so much. And I've seen companies that were willing to, double the pay because they saw the amount of level of skill I was bringing on board, And there's sometimes when you feel like the question somebody asks, okay, I'm just learning this particular skill. In that case, if you want to increase your negotiation, it might be an issue because if you are looking at it from the management point of view, if you are increasing your pay, you are not bringing so much value immediately because you still learn on the job. So you need to also ask yourself, what amount of skill set am I bringing on board? That will also help you negotiate better also.
Well, that's very impressive. Thank you, Damien. I might be forced to take this last question, and then we we call it in the so question from Candy. What's your view on the startup company acting in the application stage process? That's how will you handle probation for 2 months during while working? That is, do you have that work you're currently doing? And do you understand the question? Or should I take it again?
Yeah, I think I understand a bit. The company just wants to understand if you are double jobbing. Yeah. If for instance, there was this case of this guy that became very popular on Twitter and co very recently that was working in
Yeah.
very multiple startups at the same time. I've forgotten his name. I'm sure we all heard that case. He was working in a lot of YC
Yeah.
companies at the same time. Anyway, I think they just want to know if you are double jobbing, and particularly because as we've seen recently, I'm sure we a number of us might have seen it within our friends. A lot of us, talk of employees and candidates, want to be very safe. So while you are on probation with another company, you are still employed somewhere else till they confirm you, till they confirm you, and you just don't want to let go till actually they confirm you. Which we, for our own sense, we want to be wise about it. So how do we approach it? I don't know what to tell you to do because it depends on your lines of moral and ethics, right? So, and also whatever is running after you, right? But then it's left to you to, okay, this is what I will do. Oh, within my probation, I'll still be on my job. Within my probation, I'm actually off my job. So it is left to you on how to answer it. But then if you are double jobbing or you want to double job, please ensure that it's an instance where your professionalism is not called to question. You're able to ably contribute across the two jobs, and in no way at all does your performance is called to question on each of the jobs. I know a couple of friends that do double job, but then they are also top performers across all. Yeah.
Okay, that's impressive. Thank you. So it's quite funny that a lot of people want to double job, but I think you already have your response. So thank you everyone, and I really want to appreciate all of our panelists for taking out their time, on a Saturday. I know most technology people they work on Saturdays, so it's really impressive to have everyone. So would wrap up. I think I just want to take a snapshot of the screen. Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much, guys. I think it was awesome having everyone. So I think I should take it again. Awesome. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. So I would wrap up and stop recording. So I think you guys have learned a lot. You have learned a lot, and super proud.